All right, let's fucking go. All right, 3, 2, 1.
All the crooked hedge funds meet, all the big dogs on Wall Street. The SEC gets on the line. Stop the buying, we'll say we're blind. When the brokers froze, the game did stop, but retail rose up to the top to make a stand and hold the line with diamond hands. Beat them blind. The price did drop, they yelled, please sell. We held our shares through the depths of hell. Up and down to hell and back, us diamond hands we never cracked. Through the storm our spirits swell, against the suits we did rebel. In the fray we found our track, solidarity on counterattack.
Thanks everyone for checking out our show. I'm Sean Fitzy.
I'm Chicottle.
I'm Boiler Polly.
And I'm ET. I like it.
And this is the Echo Chamber. In today's show, we're going to recap the crazy week we just had. We're going to talk about the week to come, and we're going to try to dig into all the crazy crypto shit that's going on and how it can send GameStop to the moon. Maybe. How's it going, guys?
Great.
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Crazy weekend we got going on here.
Yeah,
Right.
it's some wild shit going on right now. Especially with those coins, and we got a lot that we can get into. But yeah, how's it going, guys?
Yeah, so much. I don't even know where to begin, honestly.
I mean, it's a podcast about GameStop, obviously, but I mean, we have to quickly mention just the insanity that is, Trump's coin and his wife Melania's coin, what that's doing. X is erupting. I mean, 2025 is already looking pretty crazy. I mean, we're already a few days in, and he hasn't even taken office yet, mind you guys. I mean, imagine
Right.
where things are going.
Yeah, like it was just a few hours ago that Melania's coin dropped, and that it felt like it sucked all the oxygen out of the crypto space.
It's just,
Yeah.
it's nuts.
Yeah, it is nuts, but we, I mean, there's a pretty straight line we can draw from GameStop and Ryan Cohen to what's going on with Trump this weekend. So it's
Absolutely.
it's very pertinent to us. So that we are going to talk about it. We're going to keep the politics out of it. This is a podcast, like Chuck was saying. We are a GameStop podcast. We are GameStop bulls. We are, we're biased. We don't care about anything else but GameStop. So that's kind of what we're going to focus on.
My bed sheets say GameStop on them. So there you go.
That's pretty dope. I would like some.
Where-
Someone told
Yeah.
I actually
where-
made that
where can
up.
I get some of those?
Dude, I actually died. You caught me in a lie. They definitely don't.
Oh, damn. So someone said they
So,
had
I was
moon.
convincing, right? Like that was pretty convincing.
It was.
Yeah, I believed it. Yeah, I for sure.
Cool. My bad.
Someone said that they had the Moon Man. I posted that on Saturday. Someone said they had the Moon Man blanket as a blanket. So that would be pretty sweet. I would be fucking very happy with that. So
Some good naps with the Moon Man.
yeah, that
sounds
was
weird. That sounds weird.
The Moon Man was like everybody's wallpaper
Mm-hmm.
for a while. The NFT marketplace Moon Man. If anyone's wondering what I'm talking about, it actually, I think Cyber Crew were the people that actually put that out, and we didn't know right away. I could be wrong on that, but I think that's right. But when we got that Moon Man, that was hype. Everyone was pumped up, and everyone had it on their wallpaper. So I brought it back. I'm bringing it back because I feel.
I heard it first.
Nice,
I heard
nice.
Fitzy's bringing it back. That's what I heard.
Yeah, I brought the Moon Man back.
Great consider.
Yeah, well, I guess a lot of people had never stopped using him. So
Nice.
maybe other people still have it. But yeah, no, I like the Moon Man. I think he's going to be part of our lives again soon. Maybe in terms of the NFTs and all that, but we'll get to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and I think to your point, Fitzy, we're obviously going to talk about things that involve political figures, but we're not doing it to get political. We have to talk about these things as a matter of circumstances. These are conditions that are changing as a matter of, just the political winds under the Trump administration are going to affect GameStop. And, regardless of whatever your political persuasions are, it doesn't necessarily matter in terms of how that ideology impacts your investment on GameStop, I think. But
Right.
but there are things that are going to happen in the coming days, weeks, months, and years that affect us as shareholders that are consequences of this incoming administration. And so I think it's important just acknowledge that, like things that just are going to happen in very short order that come off the top of my head are, the SEC is getting a new commissioner. That matters. We're getting
We're all going to
new
miss Gary. We're going to miss him
Right.
very much.
So sad, right?
Yeah, I don't know anything about.
Sorry,
I
go
don't
ahead.
know anything. No, sorry, I cut you. I don't know anything about this new commissioner, so I haven't even looked into him. But I heard he's very crypto friendly. Is that right?
That's
Right.
what I've heard.
Yep.
I think
Yeah.
also just
and most importantly, he's not Gary.
Yeah, it's equally important. I think the premise too of really what Paul you're putting down there is that we're dealing in the reality that is today, that is tomorrow, right? Like regardless of your politics, the race in the presidential election is over. Trump takes office tomorrow, and that
Right.
will have an effect on not only GameStop, by the way, the entire market. It's going to affect. So we're already
Absolutely.
seeing signs of that. The guy hasn't even taken office yet. So I think that's what we're trying to narrow in on and focus on, right? Is now that Trump is taking office, what does that mean for GameStop? What's different versus the last 4 years? And spoiler alert, it's a lot.
Right. Yeah. And along those lines, like it seems that we've seen some photo evidence that Ryan Cohen was seemingly at Mar-a-Lago this week. So, that that
Yeah.
that could be potentially
Now,
very relevant,
Fitzy,
right?
do you happen to know who he was pictured with?
Yeah, the Sultan. We can get into the week that was because that could definitely fall into
Okay.
what's going on. Yeah, the Sultan. I'm not going to try to say the last name.
I'm gonna do it. I think it's Almaadeed.
Yeah.
I went for
I'll
it.
give it a shot. I think we're gonna pronounce it as Sultan Almaadeed.
Almaadeed.
I'm gonna say
Yeah.
like Almaadeed, but if he's listening, I mean no disrespect, and I'm doing my best out here for you.
If he's
Yeah.
listening, I would be so thoroughly honored.
If he's listening, retweet us, bro.
Yeah, I don't know if he's very
amazing.
for sure. I don't know if he's very good at Twitter yet.
My man needs a blue check mark. And I'll tell you what, I don't know why. I'm not trying to be like a weird Elon. You got to be verified. It's just like, for some reason, a guy that has like theoretically all this money, I need that blue check mark out of him because bots typically and then like impersonators, they don't go that extra mile, dude. They're not willing to pay the $8. If you pay the $8, you seem more genuine to me.
I think he can afford to get verified.
I think so too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's kind of telling that he's trying this new medium that obviously he's not comfortable with. So yeah, let's just okay. So Wednesday is when we got the post about the LinkedIn post from Sultan, I think.
Yeah, which I thought was so ironic, right? Because like Ryan Cohen still hasn't even updated his LinkedIn profile from when he was at Chewy. So like he tags Ryan Cohen in this LinkedIn post.
Of all places, LinkedIn too, by the way.
It's ironic. Like I think Ryan Cohen only has like barely over 100 connections on LinkedIn. And this is a guy who obviously is super well connected. He just obviously doesn't use the LinkedIn platform very much. He's well connected in other ways. He just doesn't leverage that platform.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't even have. I think I have a LinkedIn account. I don't ever use it. I found out. I think it was Welp. I think he had a post, and that's how I saw it. But immediately to me, that's like huge news. Like, why is this guy posting a picture with Ryan Cohen and tagging him? So, yeah, that was a big boost. I think after the couple days that we had to. Yeah, Tuesday was trash. We were down 10% on that day. I don't know. Do we want to go back over the week real quick, or do we want to keep talking about the Sultan?
We can go either direction. Whatever you want to do.
Well,
I blame the first 2 days of the week on Greg.
by the way, I love this pseudo feud you have going here with Greg. He's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, none of this would be happening if it wasn't for Greg having his birthday, or not having his birthday, however you want to look at it.
I wonder if it's
Yeah.
his real birthday. Like, you know how Greg, obviously that's not really Greg, right? In the image. I don't think I'm spoiling that for anyone. I do wonder if it's actually whoever Greg, quote unquote is it his actual birthday that day? Just curious about that.
Oh, I asked him. I asked him for some proof. He did not
He
give me
responds?
any proof. No, no response. In fact, I'm sure he saw it because it was a decent post.
I'm
But
afraid to engage with him because he will just ratio you. Like, no matter what you're going to do,
oh
he's
yeah,
going to ratio you. Be like, what's my name? He'll somehow ratio you.
yeah. So I
Yeah.
think he was in it for cake and presents and engagement.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Well, and let's not forget also there was a post on his birthday where he said, if you haven't gotten me a gift yet, you can subscribe to me for $1. So, I'm not 100% convinced that wasn't just a a pandering moment to try to get subscribers. I have no idea if he even puts legitimate content out for his subscribers only. I've no insight whatsoever. I saw that post where he was inviting people to subscribe to him as a birthday present, and that just, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
that seemed like the moment where, I don't know if you guys would understand this reference, but it seemed like the moment where he jumped the shark, and that's a reference to the TV series Happy Days.
Yeah, hell yeah. I get that. Most people
So
don't though.
real quick though, do you guys remember seeing, I think there were images of when you subscribe to Greg, it was like
Mhm.
showing reference to Roaring Kitty. Did you guys see it? Like, I don't know if those were doctored. I don't know if those were real or not, but I did see like screenshots of those floating around. And again, I don't know if this guy's just a marketing genius, right? Like he knows GameStop is something that people talk about, so he tags it. He peripherally like kind of flirts with it with the images and such, and maybe he's just using this to drive subscribers. But did you guys see that image?
I did not.
Yes. Yeah, no,
This
I
this
did.
is
So when you subscribe, it was a screenshot. So when you subscribe to Greg, like you were talking about just now, you would get a notification saying back that you had subscribed to Roaring Kitty. So,
interesting.
my first question is like, I don't have subscriptions turned on. I can't even if I wanted to yet. But I'm sure you could probably set that outgoing message, I would assume. Um, Either way, I think it's safe to say that the Greg 10 is. I don't know. It should be over with. I hope it's over with. We said it last week. I don't really blame any of this on Greg, by the way. Just in case everyone knows,
Right.
I'm being a smart ass because none of this shit is Greg. Like all
No,
the people.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a fun bit, but this was going to happen either way, right?
right.
for sure, for sure. It was a big
Yeah.
week. It was a big OPEX week. We were looking at a $25 Max Payne. Like everyone
Right.
was warning us going into it, so it
Yeah.
was a setup.
Yeah. And should we talk about like the technicals for a moment on why this was going to happen, or why it was likely to happen?
Go for it.
Sure. So I mean, you brought up Max Payne, which I think for most people is just an easy approximation of what to point to if we're going to distill a highly complicated subject down into one number. We've kind of mentioned before that it's a flawed metric. It makes a lot of assumptions, but you can use it as a wild approximation. I'm going to say, but the more appropriate method of looking at where price is going to go is going to be to look at your Greeks, your options exposure, your gamma exposure, and the delta hedging involved, and ultimately the reason why price was unable to sustain where it was is because there wasn't enough support and buying pressure from the lower striked prices, and there were a lot of options at higher strike prices that were out of the money. And so we had a lot of open interest at like say $35 and $40. We obviously had tons of open interest at $125. But that was ultimately meaningless in the grand scheme of things because those had a delta pretty much near zero by the time the expiration date got near. But
Yeah.
the $35 and $40 strike prices had meaningful deltas until we got closer to the expiration, and then those deltas plunged towards zero, which gave us some sell pressure. And by not being above certain price zones, that basically gave market makers the all clear to unload shares that they had or any options that they had that were purchased as delta hedges. So ultimately, when we got under that $30 mark, I mean that's where you saw us really take the dive, and that was on Tuesday. And so we had that big 20% drop on Tuesday. We dropped like almost $7.
It was wild. We got our
Yeah.
asses. We got smoked on
Right.
Tuesday. It had been a while.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was largely because we crossed under that critical $30 mark, and because of the open interest at $30, that gave them the all clear to unhedge the $30 strikes. And so, by the same token, if we had managed to get over $30 on Friday, that would have just unleashed all hell on the options chain, and the price would have probably become unsustainably green.
So, Paulie, could I ask quick? I noticed that last week that the volume for GameStop was exceptionally low. I think it was the lowest since October 24th at one point. I remember doing a tweet. Would you say that, like, are the market makers, quote unquote, more in control when the volume is so low, or are those two not really related? Like, could you explain that a little bit? Your thoughts?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure if they're necessarily in more control. They probably are, because they have the ability to really drive price with fewer transactions when there's less volume. But yeah, we did have relatively low volume, and
Yeah.
if you kind of look at a weekly chart and you look at the volume in general, anytime you see a red week, ever since mid-September, anytime there's been a red week, the volume is lower than the preceding green week. So whatever the most recent green week is, the volume on a red week is lower than the last green week. And for me, that is a sign that the sell volume is not as meaningful as the buy volume, and it just means that and there's the market old what's the term, that there's the old idiom that it's an elevator down and an escalator up. So you do see these wild price movements down, just like we saw on the Trump coin today and a lot of other things. Shortly after the Melania coin got launched, we saw this just massive move down, and it's going to take time to repair that price. But by the same token, even though those downward price movements can sometimes come very quickly, when it comes on low volume, in particular,
it's fake. It's
exactly.
fake as fuck.
It's fake. It tells you that all it is it's some sort of a liquidity grab. It's an opportunity for the price to come down and grab a fib level, or to tag some sort of a moving average. There's all sorts of algorithmic characteristics that are involved there, and when a sell off is not associated with the same sort of volume that you saw on the way up, it never concerns me. And so
it's funny you say that. I put out a very similar kind of message once, where I was like, I know I should care about the price of GameStop right now, but I just can't, because the volume's low. I just view it as an opportunity to, dollar cost average my position if it were, something that I could lower. Just, when I see low volume and nothing has really changed in my fundamental view of where I think GameStop could go, again, as someone who's bullish on the stock, not only in the short term, but in the long term, I just see it as an opportunity. I understand why. So I think there's like the duality here on X, and maybe it's not just an X, but there's folks who day trade And then there's folks who are long-term investors. And I think the day traders are fixated on the price because it affects them more day to day. They're trying to secure a profit in that moment, in that day. Whereas a long-term investor, I'm looking at opportunity to accumulate more shares at a lower cost. So if you're going to give me that on a lower volume week, I'll take it. I mean, at times it was dipping into the 27s and then it ran back up to 29. I mean, even that alone is an exceptional trade in value.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, nothing's changed either. I mean, what 7 days ago, we're all talking about how it's going to get sent, and we're waiting for the wild card. 0109. Nothing's changed with the company since then. The only thing that has happened is a fake sell-off. And Chuck, you're right about like the two different types of the community. It's options is what you say day trading, but we got the people who trade options, which is great. I like to play my calls. And then we got the people who buy shares, and then we have both. Like that's me. I do both. I have shares and calls.
Yeah.
And usually I take my calls, and if I make money, I turn that into shares. That's why I like to buy the top. It's usually why the top. Yeah.
I love a phrase that Dragon, obviously Dragon, great trader in the community. He says like something about don't allow yourself to get theta banged. So just the idea that in options are tricky, especially with GameStop. The time of the contract and making sure that you're not getting porked by that time. That's always something to think about.
Yeah.
There has not trading trading GameStop options out of the money has been a losing game since probably the start of December. There's not been very many chances to exit. So yeah, the short dated stuff out of the money has not been profitable. So that's that if you want to talk about not financial advice, don't play short dated calls on GameStop unless you can like fucking pull the trigger real quick, because you get like maybe just a couple minutes to get out of it, if that. So
yeah, and I just want to maybe add a little bit to what Chuck was talking about, just with the nature of dollar cost averaging and being a long-term value investor, things like that. If you are the kind of person who truly believes in something and you're investing in it, and you are of the belief that it's going to balloon by 10x or 100x or 1000x over the long term. Michael Saylor, the head of MicroStrategy, he's got this great video. It was posted at least a year ago. I don't know when it was actually recorded, but it was posted at least a year ago, where he's talking about this concept. He says, if you were trying to day trade Apple or Facebook at $5 a share, you're out of your mind.
yeah.
Like if you're trying to pump your chest at, about a 27-cent gain on a share like that is going to move up by 100x, if you knew what it was going to do in the future, you would just be accumulating as much of it as you possibly can. And so that's his view with Bitcoin. So like that's why he is just dollar cost averaging every chance he gets with Bitcoin. And a lot of people are critical of him for it, but he truly believes that he is visionary with respect to what Bitcoin is for the future, for him and for society. And so he has the saying, he's like if you're not buying the top, you've missed the point. And so he doesn't care what the price is, he's just buying. And so you're right, there are two types of people. There are traders and there are investors. And so if you believe that GameStop is in deep value territory right now, then who cares if it's $27 or $30 or $34? None of that matters, right? It might matter if you're an options trader and you're on 0, 1, 2, or 3 DTE options. That might matter. But if your core position is in shares, then none of it really matters.
Yeah, anyone who had the 117s left this week very unhappy, and we felt that on Twitter too. It was a hot mess, man. Twitter was just terrible Tuesday, Wednesday. started to get a little better Thursday. I won't go into all the bullshit I dealt with.
Oh man, you're
But I
fighting it.
don't.
You're fighting the war out there.
Yeah, bro. But I found out I'm a deep state shill, so
Yep,
that was
you are.
that
I
was
knew
news
that.
to me.
I knew that from the moment I met you.
I did. Fuck, I didn't. I thought I was keeping that
Yeah.
under wraps. I found out I'm a psyoper as well. So
Sure, sure.
You're the worst.
just so you guys know who you're spending time with.
I'll also
Um,
add quickly that when it's like a video game, right? When you're going through a video game, you come across bosses and enemies before, and you know you're getting close, right? I always say that and I kind of use X as like a social barometer for GameStop. If
Yeah.
Mhm.
it's quiet, if it's eerily quiet, I'd be more worried because I'd be like, wow, there's no longer interest in GameStop. Maybe I'm literally crazy and no one else is interested in this. But because it's down, a few bucks here and there, whatever, on low volume, and everybody suddenly comes out of the woodwork and they're making fun of you and they're sliding in your
Yeah.
DMs and they're worried about your
Oh
cost
God.
basis, that's when you know that you're onto something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that analogy because the strongest storms have the lowest atmospheric pressure.
Ooh,
Oh,
that's
that's
And
nice.
so you
Clip that.
talk about a barometer, and that, I mean, just from a scientific standpoint, that analogy resonates with me.
Yeah, I made a post earlier in the week. I'm trying to find it real quick. Just we're close, like you were saying, Chuck. It's just a 10% flash crash for no reason at all, followed up with a whole bunch of accounts that I've never seen before. Like we spent a lot of time on X, and every account that was bitching about our scene, not every account. There were some accounts that I've seen before bitching, but they're all new accounts. I think it's
It's
fake.
almost it's
Yeah.
almost as if anyone can just quickly create an account and start yelling at you about GameStop. Oh, it's because they can.
Yeah, exactly. That's the other thing. It's probably a whole bunch of uh like one or a few individuals with a lot of accounts or bots
Hmm.
set up. So and a 20% dip from Tuesday the 7th to where we are now, 13%, top to bottom, I think, on Tuesday.
Yeah.
That's yeah, that was a big one. But that just tells me that they still care, like you were saying, Chuck. Like that's pretty, on the low volume, they're shorting us to hell and beating our ass. That tells me something's coming.
Right.
And
And
that's
it's, what it
Right.
reminds me of too is that, like, similar to when, I call them shills. I still forget if it's a positive or negative, but I mean in a negative way, in the sense that they're GameStop bears. Like, they only seem to come out of the woodwork when the price is down, just like how these main, MSM articles happen to come out when, again, the stock is down. But nobody was talking about the fact that, GameStop year in review, it's up 111%. Why? Like, there's no articles that are ever written that in any way seem like they're positively skewed. It's all negative, and it's all timed around low volume and when the price is down. It's just it's too coincidental because it's not coincidental.
correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's just all forget about GameStop, right? Like,
Right. Yeah.
It's
game
like Men
game
in
over.
Black, baby.
Pick up your ball,
Flash.
go home. Yeah. Yeah, and I should mention, I realized as you were just talking, Fitzy, that I misspoke earlier because I was looking at the date and a date and price range that I had marked on my chart. Our 1 day price change for Tuesday was just over 10%. It was only $3. The 20% and almost $7 change was from the 7th to close on Friday. So I was looking at, my mouse was over one thing and my eyes were looking at another earlier. So I should correct myself since this is recorded and people are probably going to notice that. So
Oh yeah, they would have ripped you apart.
I
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Fucking Polly.
oh,
How
the
dare
engineer
he get it wrong?
chart. Yeah.
Yeah. So saying something's coming, we can talk a little bit about next week and the tinfoil that came from it. But we are going into, so that was a big ass OPEX. There was a lot of money being moved around. We had 2 million. I don't know, 2 million. It wasn't all in one buy. I haven't looked at the time and sales, but 2 million shares came in at 145 again, I believe,
Mhm.
on Friday. So that just sent the price up for no reason. We were just getting smoked that whole time. So, you know, it was a crazy Friday, and usually when that happens after an OPEX, OPEX settlement is pretty good. So, them hammering the price down, This right before we start getting the Sultan news and all this stuff going on with Trump and crypto, it just makes me feel really good about next week. So if we get an OPEX type run, that usually starts, well, there's a holiday next week, so, well, tomorrow, but usually there's all kinds of deferrals, so that could absolutely just make the week for shit. But it's T+2 for OPEX, so normally it's Tuesday to Wednesday, so this week it would probably be like Wednesday to Thursday, but who knows? And who knows at all if we're going to get any of it. So,
And I still think that just, I bring it up again, but I saw Dragon do a tweet that was like, Tuesday SPY is either going to open or, open up or down 5%. And I think what he's just getting at is like, when Trump takes office, I don't think anyone really knows where the market's going. I think many speculate it's going to go up because, since he's kind of won, everything has gone up. But there is the chance that a market can go down, right? I think, we tend not to talk about it, but markets go up and down. It's normal. It's healthy. I think nobody really knows what's going to happen Tuesday. The market's closed tomorrow, which is Monday. I think that is obviously also something that will impact GameStop.
yeah, and I said, yeah, I think this news with Sultan and Ryan Cohen being at Mar-a-Lago. So I'll just finish up what happened there because I think that's bullish for us. It should move the needle, I would think. But yeah, so we saw the LinkedIn on Wednesday, and then was it yesterday that he did the retweet or the
He
tweet?
retweeted himself, boss move. I used
Yeah,
to do that more.
so the Sultan on Friday night, yeah, was taking pictures at Mar-a-Lago with Trump and Elon. The day before that, he was posting pictures with him and Ryan Cohen on LinkedIn, and then the day after that, which was yesterday, he reposted that picture, tagged Ryan Cohen, hashtagged GME, which that's huge to me,
That's great.
and then added, or no, hashtag Trump, right? Yeah, that was it. So he was, the hashtag of GME is great. We don't get that too much from like people not us, and he was doing it. Well, first off, hashtags are out apparently. I found that out a couple.
Yeah,
Like 2 weeks
Elon
ago.
hates hashtags. Absolutely hates
Yeah,
them.
and
And
that shit, I hate them. They look ugly. It's
they're ugly as
very
hell.
bad for the aesthetic of a tweet. So it kind of opened my mind up a little bit for tweeting, and I'm
Yeah,
starting to have a little
if
more
you're
fun.
listening out there, don't use hashtags anymore. Not like
Yeah.
I believe Elon literally said the algo is now changed, so like it doesn't want them. If you use a hashtag, it's actually gonna hurt you. So just don't use
Yeah.
them. They're
Yeah,
ugly as hell.
if you overuse them and if you do a few other things, then the algorithm will punish you.
I will say
Yeah.
one thing quickly, Fitzy. Like again, the Sultan. I'm gonna butcher his last name, Almaadeed. He doesn't have the verification, right? He hasn't. There's no real way for us to currently verify his X presence. He definitely posted on LinkedIn. That is in fact his LinkedIn. It's clearly a photo with Ryan Cohen, unless he photoshopped it or something along those lines. So like we're going under the guise of like this is all true. I will note that his X handle is misspelled, and I don't know if that's just an intentional thing or it's weird, but
What?
it's Alma Dead instead of
Mm-hmm.
Almaadeed. Again, could
Right.
just be a very nuanced little difference, but just something. Again, I'm always trained to be like a little bit skeptical of everything. I think that he was absolutely photographed with Ryan Cohen. I think that's real. I think that was at Trump's estate. I just think like be careful sometimes with the
Yeah.
X account versus the reality of the man.
Yeah, and I did notice that as well. So I checked, and there is another account that has the spelling of that name already taken.
Okay, there we
So
go. There we see
so
reasonable
so
explanation.
so maybe that's why. And I also checked. So the Sultan's account was created in September of 2010. The
Mhm.
other one was created in June of 2009. So I think there's a plausible explanation for why his is spelled differently. Also, we're talking about someone whose name, their original language is Arabic. So we're talking about a transliteration to English. So I mean the way that we would spell it is, obviously kind of, I don't know if made up is the right word, but I think you know what I mean.
Yeah.
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 No, it's genuine. I mean, like,
Arabic and English don't have a linear relationship, is what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say.
yeah, it's all valid.
Yeah, and that's all good points because we need to be skeptical. We've, just talking about the Greg stuff, there's a lot of people that use Twitter to mess with our community, one way or another.
Right.
Definitely
100%.
good stuff, Chuck. And then, about him not or using hashtags. He also started his tweet out at Ryan Cohen,
Right.
which makes it look like a comment or a reply instead of an actual tweet. So it doesn't even show up on his timeline when you're scrolling through it.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta
Yeah,
work with him a little bit. We'll work.
until he reposted it, right? And so for those who don't know, if you begin a post with an @ symbol without another character in front of it, that codes it as a reply, and so it won't show up on your main timeline. So I think that's probably why he retweeted it yesterday, or it was either yesterday or the day before. So he may have realized that it didn't show up on his main feed, and that's why he did it. Because he probably didn't realize that you have to put like a period in front of the ad or something like that, or start with another word, or because if the post begins with an @ symbol, then the computer just picks it up as a reply.
Yeah, I didn't even know he retweeted. I didn't know he did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I mean,
Yeah,
let's be real. I'm gonna butcher the name of where he's from. I think it's Qatar. Is that what you said, Paulie? Is that what I said?
Yeah.
Qatar.
Yeah. That's I think that's
so.
acceptable.
Roaring Kitty. I don't remember the date, but he did post a Dune 2 movie clip that everybody
yeah.
likes to repost, and there's a lot of dunes in Qatar. So just again,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like maybe the guy is from the future, but that's a super weird coincidence.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, we can kind of transition into tinfoil. I think that's kind of where we're going when we're talking about the future and Roaring Kitty. So I do want to say that, like, when we're talking about tinfoil, roaring, I try to keep my Roaring Kitty tinfoil a little separate from Ryan Cohen when it comes to the company. So like this whole week and all this hype for me is solely RC doing what RC is doing, and I don't know if this has anything to do with DFE's plan. I almost think it's like RC is telling him with his the earnings comment about not doing an offering, like, you got to the end of the month to do whatever you're going to do, because we're moving forward on our own stuff. So
yeah, that may be.
So yeah. Anyways,
and speaking of Ryan Cohen, the January 11th post from him was, speaking of replies, a reply to a post about the United Arab Emirates, a neighbor of Qatar, and so he said, where sand turns to skylines and the future is built. So obviously everybody immediately thought of the Dune video. And then we get this picture of Ryan Cohen and Sultan Almaadeed, and talking about partnerships, and Echo brought up the idea that we've got coming up. When is it? There's going to be what is it? The esports Olympics are going to be in the Middle East.
Yeah, that's
So,
coming up.
Yeah.
In 2025, Saudi Arabia is hosting the first esports Olympics. So for the first 12 years, it'll be hosted in Saudi Arabia. But then I also saw that a post from Rueda on X under White Rabbit's post also pointed out a bunch of articles that mention how, just in general, the Middle East is investing billions of dollars in the gaming industry, and expectations over the next 7-10 years for the Middle East and gaming in general is just expected to exponentially grow.
Oh yeah,
That sounds mighty bullish for GameStop. I
mean,
like the sound of that.
I mean, I think sometimes people don't understand how much money is in like Saudi Arabia. Like they can just throw. I mean, we see it all the time with like soccer player or football player deals.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't remember the guy's
Yeah.
name, but I'm pretty sure they signed him for like 400 million or something. The guy's
Yeah.
played like 42 minutes. Like money is no object. And I think if it's a tactical, strategic decision that they can form a partnership with a company like GameStop, which just has this powerful name recognition, they're definitely aware of the feverish investor base that it likely has. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are thinking to themselves, I can partner with GameStop here and we can really make something special happen.
Yeah, and that's the exact example that I had on my mind when you were talking about how much wealth is in that part of the world. And I don't know if anyone else is familiar with this, but Qatar, in terms of the GDP per capita, is the fourth wealthiest country in the world.
It's insane. Like the average Joe there just casually has like $1 billion. It's
Yeah,
like, yeah,
it's a tiny country.
I'm living within my means. I got like $1 billion.
Yeah, tiny country, but the average person there, just based on wealth per capita, it's the fourth wealthiest country in the world.
Yeah. So Sultan is the CEO of ENVST. I believe he's probably the founder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he founded it too.
Yeah.
And I just want to read what the focus of their sector focus is. So they just basically they give money to people. They aim to connect investors with attractive investment opportunities by leveraging technology to enhance networking within the global investment. Anyway, their sector, though, is a special interest in disruptive technologies that includes but is not limited to consumer internet, healthcare, fintech, and mobility companies. Yeah, and it seems like crypto also, because he's like at the center of this whole thing going on in Mar-a-Lago too.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was probably at the crypto ball based on the timing from when he was at Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, so to like maybe try to, so we know that Ryan Cohen was tweeting Trump a whole lot.
Like a lot. Like an uncomfortable amount.
Or actually, I think the crypto ball was actually held in Washington D.C. So maybe they weren't even at Mar-a-Lago, but I'm not 100% sure. But
either way, they were pictured and definitely near each other to take a photo.
Yeah. They were definitely in close proximity to Trump and Elon Musk. So I think that's really the takeaway.
And I think another thing is, like, again, Ryan Cohen is a billionaire. You can't just, I mean, again, he might be a very nice guy in person, but typically it's hard to just go up and take a photo with someone without their permission, especially when they're a billionaire. So I have to imagine he granted him permission. I'm uncertain if he was like comfortable with him sharing it to the internet. I imagine he asked and was given approval. But these are all things that, like, I can't just go up to Ryan Cohen and get a picture. Like I just can't.
Well, that would be some people. Anyways, yeah, yeah. So he said Trump a whole lot, and enough to piss off a whole lot of his investors. Which so obviously it was important to him. Oh my god. Anyways, he said Trump's a whole lot, and then he switches over to YOLO on October 25th, and then we kind of go from there. So I mean, he's sitting there at the opening of this coin, likely, or he's around it. I mean, I'm kind of rooting at this point that GameStop is invested in that too.
I mean, they could have bought pretty much any time Friday or Saturday and sold with just a monumental profit, right? Like I'm not, and again, I think I meant, I'm not the only one to do this, but I put a tweet out there that was like essentially, hey, it would be really cool, if Ryan Cohen, so as CEO, he has the ability to invest the cash reserves of the company. So it'd be really cool if he actually had bought the Trump coin and made a quick bag. And by that, I meant he bought it and sold it and secured profit. I'm not saying that happened, but like, even if there was like a 0.01% chance it did, I mean, that would be just tremendous, right?
Yeah. And I think the point is that he has the authority to do that if he feels that it's in the best interest of the company to do so. So that falls within the scope of the investment policy approved by the board, and he's got the authority to do it. So
Right.
we don't know, and we probably won't know for some time if that did happen. If it did
Maybe.
represent a material change to GameStop's circumstances, then he would be required to file paperwork within a couple of business days. But if it did not represent a material um, change, then we wouldn't know about it until the next earnings report.
Yeah, and I'm not even considering any of that with the tinfoil I'm throwing out. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Polly, we would probably have to see it, and he can just, I don't know. I feel like he probably did. I feel like he's there for a reason. Um,
The point
and
is, it's technically not zero. Like, I get that people
Right.
probably don't think it happened. It probably didn't happen, but it's not a
Right.
non-zero event. There is
Yeah.
potential, and it's within his guide as the CEO to be able to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There's a non-zero chance. Is it likely? Probably not. But
Right. Would I
but
bet my house on it?
we're saying there's a chance.
No. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. We're saying there's a
Yeah.
chance.
And
That's all.
I think all of this can kind of tie into uh, what the NFT marketplace that was for GameStop. Crypto is obviously going to be a big thing about the Trump administration. It's starting even before that. I don't think RC spent all that time and effort putting all of that infrastructure in place when it comes to the wallet and the marketplace. That was a lot of work, and it cost us money. So he has all that sitting there for a reason. He's not giving up on that for sure. I full on believe that this is all going to come back to us having some part of Web3. Player was a brief history of Player. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. Uh, it was in 2023. We heard about it on, I want to say, June 2nd. It was, I guess, a Web3 launcher that was GameStop's. We never really got a whole bunch of information outside of that. There was like one description from one of our partners. I'd have to find it, and it was really good. But it was basically like a launcher for Web3 games, and then it would tie into our marketplace and everything like that.
You know what,
Yeah.
the GameStop NFT marketplace, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Vine, in the sense that if you think about Vine and you compare it against TikTok, and by the way, that
Mhm.
was big news over the weekend, right? Oh my
Oh yeah.
God, we lost
Yeah.
TikTok. Oh my God, 20 minutes later, it's back. Wow, who would have known? Anyway,
Yeah.
it reminds me a little bit, though, in the sense that Vine, right, was almost ahead of its time. Vine is basically TikTok. I don't really know the differences, but I remember Vine
Right.
came out. It was quick videos. They were kind of funny, and that it's
Yeah.
very similar to TikTok. I wonder if the marketplace, NFTs, the Web3, all the things you're describing. It's not that they were wrong. It's just the timing was maybe inappropriate or not correct. Whereas again, we transition to the Trump presidential candidacy, his tenure. What does that mean? What does it change? Is it now a better landing pad for them to relaunch? And like you said, Fitzy, the infrastructure is all there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think the main difference would be that, like, I think with Vine the limit on every video was no more than 6 seconds. So
Oh, well, now you're just nitpicking me. You're nitpicking.
honestly,
Yeah.
other than that, they're the same thing, right?
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
so, but Vine was the original short form video, and so like I try to like jokingly blame TikTok for the erosion of everyone's attention span, but I
Sorry, what were
mean
you saying?
Vine exactly right. but I mean Vine tried to do it first, and really as a general rule, all social media has played a hand in that, and it's probably something that we should be more mindful of. But I digress. But back to kind of Web3 and what you're talking about, the the whole, just tying that together. Echo found this report from 2022 on sports in the metaverse, and it's from Web3 Studios, and it's got some contributors and experts in this report, and the second to last person who contributed to this report is none other than Sultan Almaadeed,
Oh,
who,
nice.
yeah, and
Oh
so
my
he was
God.
actually he's talking about Web3 and its involvement in the World Cup in Qatar.
There's just
And
so much money
yeah,
there. I don't think people understand the amount of money that's there.
Yeah,
yeah,
Web3, and anyone who doesn't know what Web3 is basically like the internet on blockchain. So
exactly.
it'll allow for NFTs and video games. It'll it's the evolution, I guess, of the internet when it comes to that. So
Yeah, I mean
it's
this stuff is all connected, right? I mean, like there is, I believe, a future for GameStop involving Web3, blockchain, NFTs, money from the Middle East, whatever partnerships that may come with that. I don't know if we're looking at a strategic partnership or an injection of cash or some other merger or acquisition. I don't know, but there's going to be some sort of meaningful partnership. It seems between GameStop and Sultan Almaadeed or his company Invest, and I would be relatively confident at this point that it's going to revolve around the technology involved in at least blockchain and Web3.
Oh yeah, for sure. So Player was announced at the very beginning of June in 2023, and then we had our earnings, and it was the last scheduled conference call we've had since. That was when Furlong went not for long.
Mm-hmm.
That was when RC effectively took over the whole company. And I don't know. I think this is where he buckled down. I think he realized he needed to pivot at that point because of what we were saying. And he did an interview saying that basically the administration is the reason the marketplace didn't work. The environment wasn't right, is how he put it. So,
Yeah, another
yeah,
case of being not wrong but too early, right?
yeah, exactly. So that was it. That's all we heard. There's all kinds of crazy tinfoil out there. What happened to Furlong? That was just weird. I mean, honestly, and for RC to tweet, um, not for long like that, that would be pretty crazy. So, I mean, it was pretty crazy at the time. So, um, I can't tell if he
Yeah,
was being a jerk or, or if it was like a little poke at his buddy because there's, something going on in the future that we're just waiting on.
yeah,
Because
tongue in
that
cheek. I don't know.
marketplace, yeah, that marketplace was his baby, I guess. Furlong's baby, that is. Um,
Right.
so anyway, so I guess because we're coming to the end, but
Yeah.
if yeah, I know it happens so fast. But I mean,
Yeah.
this marketplace is, if you want to talk about how GameStop could send, or people are demanding that Ryan push the button. There's really only a couple ways I can see that going down when it comes to like absolutely breaking out of this algo. And it's a squeeze. Like there's the railroad squeeze where you own all of your shares, or you own all the shares of a company, and then you can negotiate with the shorts, or not at all, but you can set the price.
Yeah.
Or you
Lock
create, yeah,
lock the float,
yeah,
right?
correct, yeah. Or you create something that cannot be exchanged for cash, that you give to your shareholders, and then you put it in a place to where like the shorts or whoever needs to, buy back in can't get to them for a set period of time.
Like a blockchain dividend, maybe?
Yeah, correct. Wu Tang, right? Like that's
Yeah.
the that was, yeah. Sorry, that was probably weird. Uh, but I mean, that's the old school tin right there, and Wu Tang tin is maybe still the best tin. We could tie that into 741 because of ERC 720 and
Wasn't
ERC.
there like a picture where like people are like hey, is that Ryan Cohen wearing a black hoodie? Doesn't Ryan Cohen
Oh yeah.
own a black hoodie?
Oh, that was so fun. I got a great video of that too, where it's like turn around and it's
Like, wait a
it
second, wait a second. He's wearing a black hoodie. Ryan Cohen wears black hoodies. Da-na-na.
yeah.
Amazing.
Well, no, but it got deep. We found the height of the guy he was standing next to.
It's none of this
And,
surprises me.
yeah, and then we compared that to Ryan Cohen's height. There was some frill on the shoulder of that black sweater, like it was not frill, but it was like a seam that was on the outside of the shirt.
Hmm.
Uh, that was also seen on another picture of Ryan Cohen. So
Case
I don't
closed.
know. Yeah, case closed, solved. But
See, I feel like you're in like a secret community of people who solve murders.
yeah, but instead it's just weird shit about
You just
GameStop.
dedicated your time to GameStop. I love it.
There's
It's a
so
better good
many.
versus evil. It's a better
Yeah,
good
there's
versus evil.
there's so many true crime detectives that could have been, but instead they're just GameStop
It's
investors.
GameStop investors. Yep,
Yeah,
they have no chance.
poop, tweet, DD, right? Like that's what I spend my time on.
Yep.
Yeah, but if you produce this NFT, whatever it is, and you put it on a blockchain that you own and control, again, you can set well, I don't know, they wouldn't even be able, it would just send it, right? Infinity squeeze, especially if we're as short as everyone supposes. So, um,
Well, if nothing else, you would have a platform and ability to execute on a plan like that. And again, like if they haven't shorted it and there aren't synthetic shares, it shouldn't be an issue. But if
yeah.
there
Right.
is an issue, then you're going to see it pretty quickly in the price.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and so like Overstock tried this,
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
and it, I mean, it did squeeze.
Yeah.
It ran 300%, I think is what it was. So, and that
And
was
that just got litigated.
yeah, exactly. And then it sat in court for years and years. So, maybe it was best that RC didn't do it because it did only run 300%, and it was not because of the dividend. It was the idea of the dividend that
Right.
sent
Just the idea scared the shit out of them.
yeah, so it sent them to cover, and then I don't know what happened to the CEO. We went to court they went to court. They've been arguing with that for a couple of years.
Oh,
Yeah,
they
I'm
love
glad,
them.
glad
They
we
love
did.
them legal fees.
Yeah, I'm glad we didn't do
Right.
any of that back then.
Yeah, but ultimately courts decided that particular technique is ultimately within the company's rights. So Overstock didn't overstep
Precedent.
their bounds by doing that. So if GameStop wanted to try to do the same thing, they could. Is essentially the takeaway from that. We don't know
Right.
if they will, but they could.
And the way I look at it too is like, okay, like listen to all the various ways that, essentially GameStop can bury shorts or just people who are betting against the success of the company in the medium to long term. So there's just genuinely forming partnerships with viable companies and partners. There's pivoting the business, which we're already seeing them do. There's the NFT marketplace. And then there's the dividend concept, right? I mean, it's just, to me, that plus the investor base plus the presence on X, it really is a ticking time bomb. And I think sometimes it feels like, is the other side just trying to get themselves positioned for ultimately when this thing goes? I don't know, but it's just, there's a lot of compelling bullish arguments, and it just seems like there's never pairing of bear arguments.
Yeah. So we're kind of running out of time here, but I was starting to say that I'm glad RC didn't go for whatever the Overstock thing did, because it didn't work out for them at the time. But he's gonna do what is best for the company, and how we get there is really, he went for it in March 2022. By the way, I mean, all these people talking about Ryan Cohen doesn't do anything. He announced the marketplace. He bought shares. He waited till we topped, and then he announced the splivvy, the split dividend.
The splividend, which I'm
Yeah.
so
Right.
mad they mishandled that. People forget that they mishandled.
Yeah.
I don't forget, but people forget.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it almost sent us,
Paperwork.
and yeah, exactly.
Oh, you
That's
filled in the wrong bubble. You were supposed to put it under this side.
Yeah.
yeah, and that didn't send us. And DFV coming back sent us to 80, and it stopped us on a dime. That didn't have anything to do with any offer, just in pre-market. So whatever is in the box, whatever is the button that we want these guys to push, we got one shot at it.
Yeah.
And it can't be no half measure. No, it can't be, half-ass announcing, what. I don't even want to come up with an idea of what it is, but we got one shot at it, and it needs to be done right. So, relax. He's doing it right. He's meeting with, the right people. This is great. This is very exciting.
And he's told you candidly and straightforwardly that he is not going to show his hand. He's not going to showcase his move so that the competitors can, see what they're doing. He said all that. So I get the frustration in the sense that, what is he doing? We're all kind of left in the dark. But, I mean, the guy is telling you he's not going to tell you until things materialize. And then I think we'll all know what's happened because we'll be seeing it for our own eyes.
Yeah, it's kind of like when a parent tells you not to do something because they know it's for your own good. I kind of feel like that's sort of the position he's in right now. Like he's sort of guiding this ship, and he knows what his plan is, but he can't telegraph his moves ahead of time because that just it gives too much away, and you can't tell your allies what you're going to do if it means your enemies also know what you're going to do. Yeah. And so you just have to trust the process. And, we all know that it's time and pressure, right? And you brought up the box. And I want to bring up one thing that I didn't mention last week when we were talking about the box. And it didn't even dawn on me until afterward, but I have this saying, and I've been saying it for a while, but that's like anytime you're looking at a bullish stock, any dip is a gift, right? Oh, yeah. And when you've got a bullish price structure, a bullish chart, and the price dips on you, that is a buying opportunity. And not just for you, but for all the algorithmic trading, all the hedge funds, all the institutions, everyone wants to get their piece of the pie. And so whether or not you've got the capital to throw at a buying opportunity, someone else does. And a dip is a gift. So when I look at this week that we just had dropping 20% over the last 7 trading days, thank you, I guess.
Yeah, hell yeah. It brought IV way down for any option traders out there. There's a lot of good things on a pullback week like we just had heading into what could be next week. So all right, thanks guys, that's great. I want to say thank you to everyone out there that's been downloading and listening. We really appreciate that. It's really cool to see. We had to wait a whole week because everything personalized jobs and shit like that, but we want to keep doing these. We really appreciate the feedback. I appreciate all of my followers out there as well. Thank you for rolling with me during these shitty weeks. It makes it go a lot better being able to hang out with you guys. Shout out to Grim Thug, bro. You've been awesome all week, man, the whole time. But either way, it's just great. It makes the rough times way better. So all right, yeah, that's all we got. Thanks everyone for checking out our show.
Thank you. Peace. Power to the players.
Have a good one.
Roaring Kitty sent out a tweet, a man leaning forwards in his seat. The markets broke, the stock did rise. Next, what he did was a great surprise. He told us all he'd do a stream at 12 o'clock, but wasn't seen. Then lady came all beat and bruised. He fucked the media, and we were amused. chilled. Whispers grew in the anxious wait. Would he speak to seal their fate? A tweet broke through, his meme on form. Markets surged with a frenzied storm. GameStop ripped back up once more. What else have we got in store?